Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to talk about several different topics. We'll talk about the travel situation out of the United States and coming back in the next few months. What are the changes that are happening? We'll talk about the processing time delays in several different sections of 485. And we'll also talk about the status of the budget bill, the impact of the Meng amendment it will have on the visa availability numbers for the next few years. And I will answer some important questions that I have been getting. So you never know which question is going to be important to you. So watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only. And for your specific immigration needs, before you take any action, you should hire a competent immigration lawyer. Now first of all, happy Navratri to all of you. If you are celebrating it here or in India, I wish you all the best in the life. Now first let's talk about some of the processing times after you apply for 485. Now I have made several videos on describing what happens after you apply for your 485, advanced parole, EAD and so on. You might want to check out that video, it's on my channel and it goes into depths of every particular details what happens after you apply for 485. Now you typically apply for 485 when your date is current in the visa bulletin. Now for your particular category, if you are in EB category, say EB2, your date has to be current in the sense that it has to match the date which is mentioned in the chart for your category or be before that date. Early on in the fiscal year, during the months of October, November and December, typically USCIS allows the date for filing chart for EB category and they allow the date of filing chart for FB category throughout the year. But starting January, USCIS kind of switches over to the final action date chart. So that is the chart that is used from January to September. So if your date is current, you are eligible to apply for 485, which is final stage of the green card, which is also called adjustment of status. Now during this stage, while you apply for 485, you can also apply for what is called EAD, which is employment authorization card, and advanced parole. Now these two forms are free of charge when you apply for your 485 the first time. So now the process, let's talk about the processing time quickly. I won't go into too much details regarding the process, but typically you get your receipt in the mail as soon as you apply. Within about 8 to 10 days you should receive your receipt in the mail. You'll get separate receipts for 485, advanced parole and EAD. Now after that, in the 2 to 3 weeks you will get notice for your biometrics. Now in the last couple of months they have been waiving biometrics appointments for people who have already submitted them for some other processing that they did recently. But if you haven't done that, you should get an appointment letter for getting your biometrics done. After the biometrics, the next step what happens is you will get your EAD and advanced parole in the mail. Now this used to take like couple of weeks after that, say within 3 months after application or receipt date of your 485, but nowadays it's taking anywhere from 3 months to even 8 to 9 months to get your EAD card in your hand. Now this EAD card will allow you to work for any employer while you are waiting for your green card to be processed. If you have your non-immigrant visa, you can still work on that. But lately I have been telling people you can let go of your non-immigrant visa and just continue to work on your EAD, which is green card EAD. Now some people who are on the verge of losing their visa and haven't got their EAD yet. If you are on the verge of losing your job as well for this reason, you should consider applying for something called compelling circumstances EAD. I have made a special video on that one as well. You can check it out on my channel. So these compelling circumstances are very specific. They will be attached to whether you are losing your livelihood or losing your job, or it becomes difficult for you to support your US citizen children and your family. If that's the case, they might consider giving you an expedited EAD in that process. So that is something for you to consider. And then from that point onwards, to get your green card, it might take several months or even several years. The reason is, even though if you have applied for your 485 based on your filing date chart or even final action date chart, it is not a guarantee that your date will continue to remain current. It might retrogress, as we have seen lately. If USCIS aggressively forwards the date in the initial couple of months of the fiscal year, there comes a situation when they have to retrogress the dates, and if that happens, then you are stuck in that adjustment of status for a little longer. Eventually you will be called for an interview. Lately they have been waiving the interviews as well, but eventually when your date becomes current, or if it remains current, you will get your green card in the mail. So that timeline can vary anywhere between a couple of months to even a year or so. Now let's talk about the travel. What is the travel situation currently while going outside of the United States? Now we have been stuck due to the pandemic for the last over 1.5 years, and we haven't been able to visit our home country to meet our parents and friends and relatives. So now obviously a lot of people want to go to India or their home country to visit their parents. So what is the situation now? Depending on what country you are going to go back to, there might be the travel restrictions on that. Now I can say that US, while going outside of the US, here at the airport, you will be required to wear a mask at all time. You will be required to carry your proof of vaccination, because that could be asked of you anywhere, at any point in any transit airport or anything until you reach your final destination. Now if you are going to India, they don't require you to take a negative COVID test or anything while entering into India as of now. But while coming back, before you board a flight to the United States, there is a mandatory requirement to show a negative COVID test, and that test has to be done no longer than 72 hours before you board the flight. So you have to get it within the last 3 days of your return flight to the United States. They won't even let you board the flight if you don't have a negative COVID test. So make sure before coming back you do that test, and if it's negative, you will be able to return to back to the United States. Now about the travel restrictions, there are still restrictions in place re-entering into the United States. For citizens, US citizens and green card holders, they are exempt, and then there are exemptions or exceptions made in the national interest category. So if your job is in national interest, or if you have a special situation, you have to apply for an IV, and they will approve it or deny it, and based on that you will be allowed to enter into the country if you are not a US citizen or a permanent resident. So those restrictions are still in place. Now another thing is, I also hear that India is relaxing the requirements or restrictions for foreign citizens. So basically, if you are from India but you have now acquired US citizenship or any other citizenship, and you are no longer an Indian citizen, unless you have an OCI, you will need a visitor visa to go back. Also for non-Indian citizens, there is the visitor visas were put on hold by India for almost over a year. Now they are thinking about reopening the visitors and welcoming back the visitors for the holiday season that is going to start in the next month. So India might relax its restrictions on visitors or mid-November. So that is kind of excellent news for India. So now here I would like to take a pause and thank you for your support through to the channel in the last several years, and thank you all to my subscribers, because I just crossed 60,000 subscribers, and this feat wouldn't have been achievable without your support. So I really thank you for that, and I would like to see a like from you for this video, or if you like the content of this video. Your likes and comments really encourage me to keep doing videos and keep giving you information on the immigration situation in the United States and Canada. So if you hit the like button, it would really mean a lot to me. So with that said, let's continue. Now there was a question in my last video that I answered, being on a permanent residency, if you have a green card, can you sponsor your parents and your children? Now my answer to that question was, you can sponsor your spouse and you can sponsor your children who are under 21 years of age. I would like to make a little bit clarification. Your children should be unmarried, and even if they are above 21 years of old, but if they are but as long as they are unmarried, you'll still be able to sponsor them for the green card. So I just wanted to make that clarification. Now this question comes up a lot. If you are getting your green card through employment base, through EB category, once you get a green card, do you need to stay with your current employer who sponsored your green card for certain duration? And I have been telling this in many of my videos that there is no such policy, there is no such rule or laws written anywhere on the USCIS website that stipulates that you need to be with your employer, current employer, even after getting your green card for a certain duration. There is no such rule or specifications specified anywhere on USCIS. So be assured, once you get your green card, you are free to work for any employer in the United States. You can leave your job within 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever time that is appropriate for you. What matters is that you went through the green card process in a legitimate way. When you went through the EB category green card process, your application must have been on a right job offer. So your employment based green card is based on your bona fide job offer in a certain category that was approved in the I-140. If your case was clear and if you got your green card in the right way, then you don't need to worry about leaving your job right after you get your green card. Now another question was that you are on an H-1B visa and you have got your EAD through your 485. Your 485 is pending and you have got an advance payroll. But your H-1B is expired. Can you travel to India or your home country and come back without stamping? The answer is yes, because even if you don't stamp your visa, you can come back on advance payroll. So you can be paroled into the country based on your EAD AP combo card. Now after coming back, you still have a choice to go back on H-1B or L-1, whatever your choice is, as long as it's valid. Or you can continue to work on EAD after you come back. Now there were a lot of questions again on the Meng Amendment. So what happened to that? And so let's summarize what is Meng Amendment. And this came out in July, I think, and it was approved in the House. It is in the budget bill for the DHS, and it is in this budget reconciliation bill, but it has not been yet approved in the Senate. So it has to go through the Senate process yet, but it already went through the House process. So this amendment says that all the visas that were unused from the EB category, FB category, and from the green card lottery program, if there were visa numbers that were wasted in 2020 and 2021, those numbers will still be available in the fiscal year 2022, which has already started, and those numbers will continue to be available until they are used up. So now what does this mean? Now I don't know if 2020 visa numbers, even if they were wasted, will still be available, because they were rolled over to EB category from FB category for that particular year. So those rolled over numbers, and if they were already used, they may not be available going forward. But if there were any visa numbers left over even after those spillovers, then those will be available. Now from 2021, if there were any leftover visa numbers, such as 80,000 visas were wasted in 2021, those will become available for EB category to be used in 2022 and going forward. And same logic applies for FB category and also the green card lottery program. So that was the Meng Amendment. So regardless of how you look at it, it will still be a net benefit for the EB category if that passes. Now someone asked me, do we know the exact number of visas that were wasted in the EB category in fiscal year 2021? Now remember, a couple of months back I had made a video and a prediction that about 100,000 visas would be wasted, and then there were a lot of news that about USCIS did a really good job in expediting their processing, and only 80,000 visas were expected to be wasted. And I still think that number might be close, because we haven't heard from USCIS about any other numbers, or they haven't submitted any data from processing volumes or things like that since July. So there is no way for us to know for sure how many visas were wasted. This might be one of the questions we can ask Charlie Oppenheim in his next interview when it happens for the visa bulletin, November visa bulletin. But regardless, it should not matter. So those visa numbers that were wasted as of now, those are gone. Unless this Meng amendment through this budget reconciliation process passes in the Senate and becomes a law, those visa numbers are gone for now. So if you are in the process and if you are still waiting and if your date is current, you don't need to worry about which numbers will get assigned to you. Now you'll be assigned 2022 visa number from the 2022 quota. Hope that makes sense. So you'll have a lot of questions for Charlie Oppenheim whenever the visa bulletin comes. I actually, let me check if it's no. So the visa bulletin has not yet come. Typically it comes on 8th, anywhere from 8th. I haven't seen it any earlier than 8th. So today is the 8th. So we can expect to see any time after this, maybe early next week or so. And I'll be sure to make a video on that. And then there will be interview with the Visa State Department with Charlie Oppenheim, and we'll have a lot of questions for him regarding how many were wasted, what is the impact of these amendments in the budgetary bills, and what do we expect to see in terms of dates movement for EB and FB category. So there will be a lot of questions for Charlie in this month's interview. And then the last question that I wanted to cover, and this has been a common question as well, one of the most important document that you need for 485 application is your birth certificate. A lot of people from India have trouble acquiring that. So you need two things. If you can acquire your certificate from India, that's the first preference, that's the best option. You should try to get it from India. Make sure that it is in English. If it's not in English, you get it translated and attested and signed off by the Indian authority. So that will be a valid birth certificate. Now the second thing is, if the birth certificate is not available, then you need to get that written from some authority in India that the birth certificate is not available. And then you need to work with a lawyer to create an affidavit with couple of people that know you closely since many years, so that they can attest to your date of birth and place of birth, and that is acceptable. This combination of non-availability of the certificate plus this affidavit is useful in lieu of your birth certificate. So I hope this helps you. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. We'll wait to see what happens in the November visa bulletin and what Charlie has to say. So if you like the content of this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.